everyone, it's Kay Kalthoff. Welcome to a Stamping to Share Stamp and Chat with Kay. And we're going to go with the Sale-a-bration stamp set called Home to Roost. Kind of funny, the cat had been sleeping in my office very comfortably, and then as soon as I got started here, as soon as I turned the camera on, he started, getting all restless, and I could tell he was going to start making a lot of noise if I didn't put him out. So that's why I had to quick run and do that. So now, my heart's all pounding, but that's a good thing, right? Oh, thank you for joining me, everybody. Wow, we've got a lot of people joining us already. Thank you. I'm hot. All that running around right before I go live. Anyway, we're going to have some fun today. I do want to get back into the routine of sharing something that makes me happy before every Facebook Live. That was my New Year's resolution, along with stamping on envelopes. Oh, well, haven't been doing so good lately on stamping on envelopes. And you know what? I didn't even prep for it for this one, but I'll try to get back on track again next time I get on to hang out with you. But the thing that makes me so happy, and the reason we're doing this, boy, I kind of feel like I'm not even in the photo here. Let me pull this down. The reason I'm just so happy today is because I have a daughter who just is turning 25 today, and she was born, I think it was about 1:30 Central Time, 25 years ago. And so it's kind of like, as a mom, when your kids have kind of grown up and they're not living at home anymore and they have jobs and boyfriends or husbands, it's sort of a fine line exactly where to tread as a mom, because you don't want to be like a helicopter mom because, hello, they're not in high school anymore. And you don't want to just assume they want to spend holidays and birthdays with you because they have other people in their life and friends that they like to get together. So I hadn't said anything to her really about her birthday. I put a card in the mail for her with a fun little thing that she and I are going to do this spring. So I'll plan all that out. And that was my gift, because she's kind of an event girl. She likes to do things that make memories. And so that is something that makes me happy, because she called me last night and wanted to know if she could come over for supper and just have family time with Steve and I. So I thought that was so sweet. But that means I had to put a few things on hold today, so I won't be getting a blog post up, and I had to do this early because I need to go grocery shopping real quick here. They're big into fresh food, and so we had salmon in the freezer, but we need to grab some side fixings for that, and some sweet potatoes or something like that. So that's what I've got going on in my life. Thank you for all the birthday wishes for my daughter. I think I can probably flip this down and show you the cards that we're going to make, and then we'll get started. So thank you for joining me again. I just appreciate it so much. So let me flip this down and we'll get started. All right, here are the 3 cards we're going to make. Aren't they beautiful? So we have a couple of simple stamping cards. We're actually doing 2 simple stamping cards today. This one's probably a tad bit more decorated. We're going to do that one first because I'm stamping the rooster in a different color than I am on these 2 cards. And then this one uses our note cards and envelopes. I'm going to change up just a couple of things, particularly this one. I'm going to put it, right now I have it on Whisper White. So as you can see, I have the Whisper White note cards and envelopes back here, but I think I'm going to try very vanilla with this, and maybe just a little bit lighter shade of the paper that I used that I stamped on. And then this one, and I've got a cool tip for you on how to make sure that you're getting these all very even, because when you put things into strips and then you're putting them down with glue or tape, it can get a little dicey about getting everything even, and some people really get frustrated by this. But I've got a great tip for you, especially if you're doing an odd number. It probably wouldn't work as great if you've got an even number, but you know what, the eye likes odds better, and so you'd probably have an odd number of boards going down your card anyway. So anyway, let me show you, let me get this out of the way. Let me show you the Sale-a-bration catalog real quick. Looks like this. If you don't have one, be sure to contact me and I'll get one in the mail for you. But it is wonderful. It is all of these wonderful things that you can get when you make a $50 purchase or a $100 purchase of Stampin' Up! Products. So we're going to use the Home to Roost stamp set today, which is a free stamp set when you purchase $50 in product. And right now, they actually have a really cool You Can Make It bundle that when you order all of these things in this bundle, you will get the Home to Roost stamp set as a freebie. And so this is actually on low inventory. I think a lot of people have enjoyed getting this so they can get the Home to Roost stamp set. And so I don't know, the whole inventory thing is a little shifty right now because there's so much going out the door that we don't have enough coming in the door. So anyway, if you love this stamp set and you want to get all of these things to make these 3 cards, I would get this bundle sooner versus later. And let's see, what else do we have? Well, here's the stamp set. Looks like this. And I am going to be using a couple of paper packs today. So Home to Roost looks really great with the wood textured paper. I mean, it's, you know, it's got all those colors in that, you know, are reminiscent of hanging out at the farm near the rooster shed. And so that's what this looks like. And then I'm also using our Garden Impressions Designer Series paper. Am I using it all? Yes, I am using this paper on all 3 cards. And so chickens love gardens and they have no problems pecking around in a flower garden. So I thought this was pretty appropriate. I grew up on a farm, so I know a thing or two about animals and stuff like that. Not necessarily chickens, I guess, though, because we had hogs, and so chickens and hogs don't necessarily go well together, so we didn't have chickens on the farm. However, we always bought our eggs locally, and to this day, I still buy my eggs from the farmer. That's our neighbor. Been doing that for many, many, many years. I won't even say how many. All right, so let's get started with the card that we're going to start with, which is this one. So I'm going to pull out all the things we're going to need in this packet. And the first thing I'm going to share with you is this wonderful paper. And you know what, before I get going on this, I should tell you what our giveaway is. I'm going to give away 2 of these cards on Wednesday. So Wednesday, check back in and see if you're a winner. Because if you are, you will get this card in the mail once you contact me within 48 hours with your address, and you will get 2 yards of our braided trim ribbon. That's one of the things that I use to decorate this card. So how do you get in the drawing? You just make comments on this video or you share it on your timeline and let me know that you've shared. That's how we do it around here. And I give you a couple of extra days to make your comments because I know not everybody can get on all at the same time and watch. So just makes it easier for everybody. So we start with a 3x4 inch panel of this lovely designer series paper called Garden Impressions. This is a 6x6 designer series pack. And I'm just going to glue this down on a panel of 4x5¼ inch Whisper White. So we're going to set this in here and just wiggle that into place, and that is ready to go. Then we're going to do our stamping, and so to do our stamping, now I could use this is a Calypso Coral card base, so that looks like this, and I could stamp the chicken in Calypso Coral, which I did here, but I want to make this chicken pop just a little bit more. And so a good color that's a little bit brighter than Calypso Coral, but still kind of falls into that color range, is called Poppy Parade. So I'm going to use Poppy Parade to actually stamp that chicken. So we're going to stamp him right here on the left-hand side. So don't stamp too fast, everyone. Make sure that you give it just a second for that ink to get in there. And look at that. That just looks really cool. I mean, it's sort of in the same color family as the Calypso Coral, but it just gives it a little more pop, which I really like. Then we're going to stamp Just a Note, and we are going to do that with Call Me Clover. So I've got Just a Note right here. I'm inking it up with the Call Me Clover ink pad. That's one of our in colors. And we're going to set this down right over here Give me just a second here to make sure that we get a nice impression, and we did. Very beautiful. And now we are going to, I mean, when you're just stamping straight on the paper, you don't have to color. I mean, you could, but if you're already stamping the chicken kind of in a color, it looks pretty just by itself. So I'm not going to do anything else with this. My inside panel is going to be a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of Whisper White. Let me get some of these stickies out of the way here. And then the bottom piece just coordinates with our outside piece, kind of brings the outside to the inside, and that's 3/4 of an inch by 4 inches. And again, I'm just going to put that down with just a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue. We'll put this on the bottom and just wiggle that right into place. And then we're going to stamp one more thing here, and it is Thanks for Your Friendship. So I'm inking that up again in the Call Me Clover. Stamp this right here, and that's all she wrote. It's a pretty easy card. So we'll put this on the inside panel, and then we'll go ahead and do our ribbon wrap. We do have a ribbon on this card, and the base card is Calypso Coral. It's 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. And the reason I did not use Poppy Parade for here is I still wanted these little Calypso Coral colors to coordinate with this, but I just think the Poppy Parade gives that chicken a little more oomph. And so now we're going to take our ribbon, and what we're going to do, some of you are probably really good at tying it all the way around and tying it into a bow and making it all perfect like that, but I'm not one of those lucky, fortunate people that's that talented. So I'm just going to take some Scotch tape and just do what we call a ribbon wrap. So we're just wrapping some ribbon around here, probably about, 3/4 of an inch down or so. And once that is secure, then we can go ahead and using the Call Me Clover 1/8 inch ribbon, we'll just make a bow like this. Looks pretty nice. And we'll trim that up. And then we're going to put that on with a glue dot. Let me get that bow a little better. Okay, so then we'll grab our glue dots. Somehow I lost the cardboard part of this glue dot. I don't know where it went. It just disappeared. One day I noticed I didn't have it, so I think the cat might have been playing with it. So then we're going to put this on just over here to the left, pretty much right underneath the rooster. Isn't that pretty, everyone? I love it. I love making cards, and I think making quick and simple cards like this is just so invigorating. Would be a little more invigorating if I actually had some snail in front of me. Oh, here it is. I had just used it, and then all of a sudden I couldn't find it. So we're going to put snail all the way down. Then we're going to set it in here so that all 4 borders are nice and even. Then we'll flip it over, burnish that down, and we have this really cute card. Don't you think? I do too. I'm going to grab my, somewhere in this room, I have, hold on, I'll be right back. I've got to grab something to wash my stamps because we've got to get this Poppy Parade off this chicken before we put him into the early espresso. I'm back. That just shows you how tiny my room is that I stamp in. It just takes a second to walk across the room. All right, so here is my Stampin' Chamois. I love it. I think it's called a Simply Chamois. So I'm just going to take my chicken, and I've been using, I wash it every time I wash my clothes. Now, some people actually do put them in the, the washing machine and in the dryer. I don't. I just, not that I have such great clothes, but, I don't know. It just don't, it's just not going to be for me. So I just rinse it out in water with a little bit of soap, and rinse it until the soap is gone, and then I just put it back into the little case and it's ready for another week of stamping. So all I do is, and seriously, I really do only wash it about once a week, and I do a lot of stamping. I have no problems with the colors transferring. So we need that one washed, and then this Call Me Clover one, we need that one washed. There we go. Then that's all going to go into this pile. Now, for those of you that are wondering, I try to keep things organized. I got these, I don't know, I think it was from Office Max or maybe it was Walmart, like years ago. And when I put things into these boxes, then I have my stamp pad and all of the things that I'm going to use coordinating with that color. So for example, today I had my Call Me Clover box, and then I had a box with my Poppy Parade. And one of the nice things about this is if I'm stamping away, and I would even do this even if I wasn't a demonstrator, just so that you guys know my reasoning on this. How many of you have just like, you know, laid your card down and laid it right onto one of these blocks that has ink on, or laid it near the ink pad, the next thing you know you've got ink on your card? Yeah, I've done that too when I forget to put it in my box. But if I put it in my box, even if I'm, you know, no matter where, I'm never going to set the card down into this box. And so this sort of helps keep everything contained for me. So there's a little tip if you have a lot of problems getting ink all over everywhere, just put things in a box. It just makes it a lot easier, and then, you know, you don't get your colors mixed up either. All right, so let's continue. So we've got this one done. Oh no, we don't. You know what we need to do? I almost forgot this. We have to decorate this with some, these are called Happiness Blooms Enamel Dots. So I'm just gonna take your pick tool, and it's got this really cool little end piece that has this just a teeny bit of adhesive on, so I can just pull these dots away, and then of course the adhesive holds it until I've decided right where I want to put it. So I can just take these up and just sort of set those around on my card. And there we go. Now the card is complete, and just it looks just perfect, don't you agree? All right, so now we'll set this all aside and we'll get started with the second card. So the second card will be done in about a minute because it is so fast and easy. So what we're going to need, and I said I was going to experiment a little bit. So we are going to use, instead of the Whisper White note cards and envelopes, we are going to use the Very Vanilla note cards and envelopes. So I actually have an envelope. I can actually stamp that. Hooray. So we'll take away these, and let me grab my bone folder because I don't like how this pops up all the time. I mean, I'm probably just really kind of weird like that, but I like things laying flat while I work with them. All right, then again, we're using some, some of this Garden Impressions 6x6 Designer Series paper, and we're actually going to stamp on this directly. So this side is a little bit busy, this side is a little bit calmer, great for stamping on the calmer side. So the first panel that we're going to be stamping on is 3 by 4.5, and that's, I'm just going to get that stamping done. So the other thing we need to do is we need a piece of scrap paper. So this is a Very Vanilla scrap. I think I'll do this first. And I'm going to ink it up with Early Espresso. We're going to put just a note, and then we're going to punch it out with our punch that is called the Classic Label Punch. So I'll just put this in here, and once you have it, you know, pretty much in the middle, give it a little punch out, and that's going to go on our card. Then we'll take the chicken, and we're inking it up again in Early Espresso. I'm just going to stamp him right about here. Give a little bit of time for that ink to go deep into the paper, and there it is. And then we'll take this and we'll add a little bit of snail to the back. let's put this right here, right beneath the chicken. Give him a little bit more ground to stand on. Then, and you could either use glue or snail. I'm just using snail because I happen to have it handy. And then you're going to layer this onto another panel of that Garden Impressions 6x6 Designer Series paper. So this is a 1/4 inch bigger. It's 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. And we're just going to put this right over the top. Oh, so pretty. And then we're going to, oh, and now I grab my glue. So I use glue, I use the glue and the snail pretty interchangeably, unless I'm on regular Very Vanilla or regular Whisper White, then I always use snail. But this cardstock that we're using is a thick Very Vanilla, so we won't have any glue lines show through. Then we're going to take some of our Happiness Blooms enamel shapes, or enamel dots, I guess, and we're just going to use these Calypso Coral ones. And we'll set that there, and another one here, and then one more, and we'll put that one up here. And that's it. The card is done. We're going to leave the inside blank because it's really going to be just a note. And these are smaller cards, so if you do put Designer Series paper on the inside, you don't really have very much room to write. So we'll just leave it blank. And this is the card I created in advance, and then I changed it up just a tiny bit to do this one. I wanted the chicken to stand out just a tad more. This was in Whisper White, and this one is Very Vanilla, and I like them both. They turned out great. Now we can go ahead and stamp on our envelope. Hooray. So let me grab some, do I have any scrap paper handy? Well, let me see. I don't think I do. Well, kind of. All right, so I just reached into my garbage and took out a little scrap because I'm going to be stamping off. So I think I'm going to use these reeds, and we're just going to stamp those here to the left. And that's all there is to it. I just did it in early espresso and looks great. So it's ready to mail out. So I'll set that aside. All right, now let's go ahead and do that very last card that I know many of you are very excited about. And we'll get all the pieces out. This is a very easy card to make, believe it or not. Once you get everything cut, it's pretty easy. So the first thing we're going to do is we have a scrap of crumb cake. And this is where we're going to stamp our chicken on, again, using, let me get some things out of the way, using our early espresso ink. So I'm just going to set this here. I'm going to grab this chicken. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to stamp just a note first because that helps me, you know, if I don't get just a note on there, just perfect, I can always kind of realign it with the chicken. So just a note can be stamped right here. Oh, once you know, I did it perfectly. But when I was practicing in advance, it was kind of like kilty and I couldn't quite get it right. I probably should have put it on my Stamparatus, but I thought, well, for heaven's sakes, I should be able to freehand this. Then we're going to put this right underneath just a note. So we've got our chicken. And again, we're stamping on crumb cake, in case you forgot. And that looks great. So now what we're going to do is run this through the Big Shot machine. So let me bring that into the camera. Here it is. And we are going to use the magnetic platform, which I always use with framelets and thinlets, just because it holds the die in place. All right, and then we're going to use this large stitch shape framelit. So these are all the stitch shape framelits. They come in ovals, circles, and squares, and we're going to use the largest of the ovals. So thank you guys for the nice compliments. Oh, you know, I should be reading these comments. You are so nice to me. Thank you. All right, so we're going to set this on here. Hopefully you can see. And this fits really nicely into this large oval. So I'm just going to set it up like this. Make sure it looks, we want to make sure the words look straight on. So That is another reason I'm just giving it a little bit of time here. Then we'll put our non-cut plate over the top so that we can make sure it doesn't move as it goes through. And that's all there is to it. And when you pull it out, you get a lovely stitched edge all the way around on that framelit shape, which I love. That's why it's called the stitched shape framelits, and it's beautiful. All right, so let's get all of this out of the way, and we're going to color. Uh-oh, this is going to be a rare day because I rarely color. And just to let you know, in case I goof up, I have some backups already colored. I don't know, I'm not the world's best colorer. But I know a lot of you aren't either, so we're all kind of in the same boat. But I tell you, it's pretty easy with the Stampin' Blends. So we're gonna add a little fun after we get the Stampin' Blends on. We're gonna do a little wink of Stella. But the first one I'm going to color with is our dark Mango Melody. And you won't even notice that this has really been colored because all I'm doing is going over the feet. They just have to be yellow in my mind because that's the color that chicken feet are. I did know that much growing up on a farm. And then we have the dark soft suede. And again, I'm not really doing much here, just adding a few more hash marks to the ground. So far, so good. Then I know that I can color this little comb and wattle because I know that's going to be red. So we're going to take the dark real red, and I'm going to use the fine end. And we are just going to go in and put some real red down on that chicken comb and then on the wattle. Just like that. That's all there is to it. Then, I don't know if you know this or not, but there's this little area under the eye. That's actually red too, but we're going to make that a little bit of a lighter red. So we're going to use the light real red. And we are just barely going to touch that on there. So it just adds just a little bit. We can leave the eye kind of, you know what, I'll hold this up to the camera so you can see how this is done, but we're just leaving a little bit of space by the eye. Is that showing up at all? See, there's such a delay, I can never tell, but you're just adding just a little touch of the lighter red underneath the eye. All right, then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the dark Cajun Craze, because a lot of chickens have this bronzy look to them, and the dark I can't even talk. The dark Cajun Craze gives that kind of, I don't know, that sort of a nice bronzy look. So I'm going to get my original out here so I can see what it was I did. So I'm just going to take, and again, I'm just going to take, now this time I'm using the brush end, so we have a little bit larger of an area to work with, and I'm just brushing some of this feathery look. And I'm going to bring that down along the wing here. And then I'm going to add in a little bit through here. And then I'm going to finish up here. There. That's really all we need to do for that. Maybe just fill this in. There we go. Okay, then we're going to take the, you'll never believe it, but blue. There's also a lot of blue on chickens, especially if they're standing in the sunlight. So now we're going to take the dark Night of Navy, and just because we're going to be kind of, you know, working it in around some of these edges here, I'm going to use the narrow end, and we are going to just color in some of this area here. So, and again, I do a little bit of brush strokes because I want it to sort of look, I don't know, natural, I guess. So this takes a little longer, which is one of the reasons I don't like to color on camera, just because it's a little bit of extra time, but you guys have told me over and over not to worry about the time because you're learning things and you all love that so much. So thank you. So that's why I'm deciding to do this today. And then we'll just finish it out here. There. I think that looks pretty good. Let me get this. There. All right, now we are going to just draw a few lines into the tail. Not too many. So we've got quite a bit of blue going on into the tail, but there's another color we need to use, and we're going to use dark shaded spruce because the other thing that you see on a chicken is green. You often will see kind of shimmers of green. So we're only going to put that into the tail area. And again, I'm going to use the fine tip. We're just going to color in, not necessarily color in, but just add a little more swooshiness to this tail. And you know, another thing you could do if you don't have the stamping blends, you could just use a blender pen. A blender pen with inks from your ink pad, and you'll get something that's just beautiful. So that's another option. So there we go. We've got our chicken all colored. He's got a beautiful tail. I am going to color in the ground just a little bit more, I think. There we go. All right, it's done. We managed to get that done, no problems. Then we're going to take the wink of Stella, and we're just going to add some little highlights to our chicken. Now, this is never going to probably show up in the camera, but I'm doing the back where the sun would hit, and then also anything that is blue, and then, of course, the tail, because there's always a lot of shimmer in a chicken's tail. Well, not necessarily all chickens, but for sure in rooster tails. There we go. So that is complete. I'll see if it'll show up. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see how beautiful this is. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try to hold it really, really still. But you can see that there's shimmer on it now, and it's just so pretty. All right, so let's go back and get this card finished up here. So what did we start with? We start with a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of crumb cake, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. I'm just going to take my bone folder here and finish out that score line. And then we have a panel of early espresso. This is 4 by 5 1/4. And then we have some Wood Textures Designer Series paper, along with our Garden Impressions Designer Series paper. Now, this is a shade under 1 inch. So for those of you that don't know what a shade is about a 1/16 of an inch, at least in my world. So this is 15/16 by 4, because you need enough of a gap to be able to tell that it's kind of like a fence. And so that's your gap measurement. So a shade under 1 inch. And then you're going to do 4 strips of wood textures, and really you can use any of the wood textures, they're all beautiful. And then you're going to need the same measurement, 15/16 by 4, of the Garden Impressions Designer Series paper. And I'm just using, you know, the same one that I used on the cards previously. You can tell all these cards were made at the same time. So now I'm going to teach you my trick for making sure that all of these edges are really just perfectly spaced. All of these will be perfectly spaced. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue onto this first one here, because we're going to set down the bottom first. And you know what? I need something white to help me see where the bottom of this is. So here we go. We're going to set this in here and just wiggle it into place, and that is perfect. All right, so now we're going to do the top panel, because after you put the bottom panel in, then the next thing to do is the top panel. So once again, we're just going to use a little multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're going to set this here at the top. So these two are easy because there's nowhere else you can go with these. One's got to go at the bottom, one's got to go at the top. The tricky part is putting the middle 3 in. So what you want to do is the middle one first, but this is a pretty big gap in order to see exactly how you can make that middle one even. And outside of actually using a ruler and measuring, which no one wants to do, I have a little bit of a tip. So what you do is you put one on and you just make it flush to this bottom one that you'd laid down. You take the other one that you've got here, make it flush. I'm going to flip these around. I don't want them to look like, oh, that isn't going to work either. Oh, this way. All right, so then you've got this one flush, and then this is the big secret. You just put glue on this middle panel. Not that it's a secret, but you know what I mean. Here's your tip. That's a better way of saying it. Some of you know this. All right, so again, you just put this one flush here, this one flush there, and then put glue on your middle panel, and all you're doing is making sure that the middle panel is in the middle. And it's easy to do when you have these two down because you can really see where the middle is. If you didn't have these two and you were going like this, it'd be a little harder to make that judgment call. But if you just set these real here right loose, then you can kind of make that pretty close to perfectly even, okay? Now it's a piece of cake to fill it in because now we can put glue on these two, and then it's just the same exact thing. You're just measuring, you're just going to put this in now so that it's even. See? Now it's easy to see that it's even. So you know you're getting the exact same distance here and the exact same distance here. Does this make sense, everyone? If you think this is a good tip, I'd love to see you give me a couple of hearts or likes. I guess I've known this for a long time, but I've just always kind of forgotten to share it. Or I haven't made a card like this in quite a while. But there it is. Everything's perfectly spaced. I'll bring it up to the lighting here so you can see it. Thanks for the hearts. I appreciate it. Good, good, a good tip. All right, so now what we're gonna do is, all we have to do is do our wrap. So this is the giveaway, again, by sharing this on your timeline, or, let me grab this here, or by making comments, you know, tell me where you're from, what's you're doing today, if you've been making cards, what you like, if you have this stamp set yet, if it's on your wish list, whatever, just chit chat. So what we're doing now is we're taking the braided trim, which carried over from our holiday catalog. We're just making a little bit of an X here. Then we're gonna bring it around, we're just wrapping it. We're just wrapping it like this. And then when you have enough wrapped, then you can just go ahead, add another piece of Scotch tape, and you're good. All right, so let me do this. So anyway, this is what's going to be in the drawing. So you can share this on your timeline or whatever. Just share away. It's so nice of you. All right, so this is, and I'm gonna kind of move these around a little bit. So you don't want it, you want them to look a little bit, I don't know, sort of staggered. Okay, so now we're gonna take our chicken that we've got all colored, we're gonna just put him just like that, right onto that, what am I calling this? The braided trim. So let me grab some dimensionals. We really only need 2. Why do you only need 2? Because you kind of have the braided trim as one of your lift pieces. So we're going to pull off the little adhesive piece, and then we're just going to set this right here. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to make sure that my just the note is sort of parallel and that my chicken is sort of walking in the grass here, walking through the flowers. So then we'll press this down. Now, all that's left to do really, well, we're going to stamp the inside of this because that's a good thing to do. So again, we're going to bring our little box in the camera. We're going to take our little reeds here and stamp those on the inside panel of the card. And then we're going to stamp a sentiment. So one of the sentiments I really like is called Enjoy the Simple Moments. So I'm going to set this in here. beautiful. This is the card that I'll be giving away too. So you'll get two people, two of my winners will get this card along with the 2 yards of the braided trim. And now, because we have all of this braided trim on the back, we want to give it a little bit of room to breathe. So instead of putting snail or glue back here, we're going to grab the dimensionals. And because this is a bit of a lift just by itself, all we need to do is put a dimensional in each corner. Whoops, got a little bit extra there. So I'm just putting 1 dimensional in each corner. That gives it just a little breathing room. I think it looks better, more relaxed if it's not pushed down so hard onto your card. So we'll just center this in so that all 4 borders are nice and even. And our card is done. Isn't it beautiful? I had so much fun making this with you today. It was so nice to have you here. A great Stampin' Chat, I would say. So let me grab all the different things that we did today. So here's the chicken cards. Well, they're all chicken cards. What am I talking about? Here's the ones where we use Stampin' Blends and Wink of Stella, and I showed you how to make the kind of wood background. And then we did this nice simple card right here. It's just a note. We did stamp "Thanks for your friendship" on the inside and did a little coordinating here. So we're going to set this in here. And then we also did some cute simple stamping cards. So we've got these 2. So you can vary up your designer series paper. That's what I did just because I wanted to show it off a little bit. And then put this one down here. Oh, I don't know. It doesn't want to stay here. Somehow I like to line these all up, but they're not lining up very good. Maybe like this. All right, I think that looks pretty good. So thank you everybody so much for joining me today. I truly appreciate it. I will give away the braided trim and these 2 cards on Wednesday morning. So be watching, well, not really. You'll get a notification if you win. So that's how you find out. So thank you everybody so much for joining me. It's truly a pleasure.